Mic check 1 2. Mic check 2 3. Mic check 1. Okay.
Hi, how are you, John? Good.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Adam Wolf. I'm the communications manager for Navajo County. We understand this was a last-minute change to bring you here, but as you can see, we have much more space, so thank you all for coming. We also would like to thank the LDS Church and Navajo County Supervisor Steve Williams for helping us get this location and making this happen. We are here to hear from you tonight. At the end, when everyone's done talking, we will give the opportunity to come up and ask some questions. There'll be one microphone here. We ask that you please keep it orderly when you come up. When we're going through this and you're thinking about your questions, please consider, does this affect just me, or does this affect the whole community? If it affects just you, we will provide you with an opportunity to ask one-on-one questions with our speakers after this. But please, when you come up, keep your questions for the community. It'll just help us keep everything flowing a bit. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Steve Hare up for an invocation. If you'd like to join in, please do so.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here, and we thank you that you who have created everything and you who are all-powerful are listening to us, and you care about us. And so, Father, we extend our love for you and our gratitude toward you, and we ask that you would give wisdom to the leaders, that you would keep those safe on the ground and in the air. We pray, Father, that you would continue to bless this community as you have for so long, and that you would bring and maintain and help us to preserve and persevere in a spirit of unity. Heavenly Father, you have in the past spared us in marvelous and miraculous ways. There have already been testimonies of miracles even in recent days, and we are humbled that you would be concerned and that you care, and yet you do, about every single one of us. And so we thank you for these things. We praise you for who you are. We ask for wisdom and clarity for our leaders, continued safety, and we thank you for your gifts of mercy and grace, and as always, for your steadfast, unchangeable love. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
So at this time, we'd like to bring up Show Low Mayor Daryl Seymour.
Good evening. You know, last time I had somebody record a talk was probably when I gave a talk in Sunday school when I was about 6, and my mom probably recorded all the recorders tonight, but you know, it's great. We're grateful to have the opportunity, you know, to be able to meet together this evening and to be able to give you some updates pertaining to the Cedar fire. On behalf of the Show Low City Council and the community of Show Low and our leaders, we wish to extend a great heartfelt to the firefighters and to those people who are in harm's way and have kept us safe. We're grateful for the fact that we have not lost any lives or any structures at this time, and we're thankful for those who are doing their part, tireless efforts. You know, when you come together as a group, you find fellowship with other people that you don't know. As we've worked together the last week, we've been able to form friendships and camaraderie that we have. As people of this community have come together and offered up many things of assistance in our neighboring cities, we wish to thank them for their hospitality and things that we have. I'd like to just help you understand a little bit about the building. If there's a need for restrooms in the very back, there's restrooms in the back. There's a men and women's restroom on this side and drinking fountains to the rear of the building. Feel free to use those if you need to. You know, I want to thank Steve Hare for willingness to offer a prayer. Kind of the city council, we try to pray at meetings that we begin with, and I thank him for that. I want to explain a little bit. When this fire broke out, we received a phone call from the office of Chairman Loopy, who asked us if we would join with him in seeking out and talking to our senators, Senator McCain, Senator Flake, Congresswoman Kirkpatrick, and Governor Ducey. As we reached out to them before we left, that within an hour and a half, we had phone calls back assuring their support and things that we have. And it's been great to see that we've been able to go to a Command 1 within the first day or the second day of the fire, and some of the things that have happened efficiently. I just want to bring you to an update that we have this evening. Governor Ducey has declared a state of emergency for Navajo County. I want you to understand that the city of Show Low, the city of Pinetop Lakeside, the tribe, the county issued a state of emergency last Wednesday. We've been operating under a state of emergency since. And so there is nothing that has that they know that you don't know. There's nothing to be concerned because we have upgraded to a state of emergency on a state basis. It's just that we have now the resources and availability of the state to help us in things going forward, to help with some economic relief and things that we have. You know, as many of our citizens in this community, we have to also look at what we can do to help each other going forward as well. As we continue to get past this and go forward in the future, may we remember the great blessings that we have as a community and that we work together. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity that we have great people who work together in the White Mountains, and I thank you for being here tonight as active citizens, and it's our goal to give you more information and then to answer any concern questions that you may have. But we're grateful that we do live in the White Mountains, and the beauty that we have is still here, and may it continue to serve us for many years and many generations. You know, Governor Ducey was up here, and at his comments that we had from Tribal Chairman Lupe was great. He says, we live together, we fight together, and we're going to win together. And may we continue to win and continue to do the things that we can on this mountain. And may God continue to bless the White Mountains. Thank you.
So just to echo a little of what Mayor Seymour just said, again, the governor did declare a state of emergency for Navajo County. That doesn't mean the situation is any worse. We have been under a state of emergency since the beginning, so please keep that in mind. Through all this, as Mayor Seymour said, we've had a tremendous partner in the White Mountain Apache Tribe, and we do have their Public Information Officer, Glendina Lee Gatewood, and she'll be our next speaker.
Good evening, everyone. I spoke to my boss, the tribal chairman, a few minutes ago. I'm his executive assistant in his duties as tribal chairman. And whenever he can't make it to an incident, he sends me. And I'm also the tribe's public information officer. And I went through a phone call with him and discussed what he wanted me to convey to you, the residents of Sholo. And he wanted to let you know that given the map that you see behind you, you can see the black is on your side of closer towards Sholo. And he said that you're safe. However, the fire is still on our reservation, and they're doing everything they can to get that out, because he's like, our focus is first on safety, second, get that fire out. I just want it out. Our precious resources, the timber, it's being affected. That's what we use for our resources. So that is his concern. He conveys his gratitude for the cooperation that we have had with everyone that's been involved, the phenomenal support and encouragement. And we're asking for the resources, and I'm glad to hear that the governor is in support by offering a state of an emergency. That will ease up some of the requests that we have and get resources here quicker, and that's a reassurance that we find comfort in. And I want to thank you for coming here to this meeting, and on behalf of Tribal Chairman, enjoy the evening and the meeting and the questions that you may have. And we're working together, like Mayor Seymour said, and getting this fire out, because we're not immune here, because we have beautiful trees all around us, the natural resources, waking up under the stars, having lakes, the birds, the elk, you name it, it's quite a beauty. And I'm sure you all appreciate it as we do too. Thank you.
Also representing the White Mountain Apache Tribe, we have Jerome Casey.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jerome Casey III. I am District 4 Councilman for White River, McNairy, Honda, and I am also the Public Information Officer alongside of Glendina Gatewood. I'm here to say thank you to all the people who are involved on the behalf of the White Mountain Apache Tribal Council. It's like I had stated yesterday, that there's a lot of moving parts to this, and everybody is cooperating well. Everybody is working together. And one of the hugest things that Chairman Lupi had made sure we were doing is working together. And as community members, as our neighbors, we felt the pressure from the White Mountain Apache Tribal side of worrying about those of you guys who live here on the 300 road, the Rim Road. And I'm glad that you guys are out of danger for now on this, what we see as black. And, now we got to concentrate down in Cedar Creek area. And, we are doing everything we can. And then again, I'm not much, I'm a council member, but I still get very nervous behind this mic here. I would have dressed up like the mayor, but I'm still wearing my softball shirt and my greens. But, we're doing our job, and I just want everybody to, just want to thank everybody. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your thoughts and your kind words. And sometimes that's kind of hard to get when you're out there. And again, I really would like to thank, and if everybody could give a round of applause to the Type 1 team and all the firefighters that are out there even right now. I just came back from the briefing, the 5 o'clock briefing, and we have a tremendous amount of fire personnel that we're getting ready to go back out there again. And it's so awesome to see our tribal members working with all members of the White Mountain, people from across the country working together. And that's all for us here in the Great White Mountains. And again, thank you. God bless everybody.
Our next speaker will be from the Fort Apache Agency Forestry Branch. He's the resource advisor, and it's Orlando Carroll.
Thank you very much for having all of us here tonight. I'm going to give you some historical information on the treatments that we have done over the years on the Fort Apache Indian Reservation. So if you would bear with me, I work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Fort Apache Agency, Branch of Forestry, and I've been there for over 25 years. And through that 25-year period, I have seen and witnessed many different forest management and fire management projects. And so I hope that this will instill in your minds that we are very proactive in helping to protect not only White Mountain Apache tribal communities, but also Show Low, Pine Top, Lakeside, and every place else that you can think of in the White Mountain region. And so I'm going to enlighten everybody here on the things that we have accomplished in the last about 20 years. So bear with me. We would turn our attention to the map here up above us. Over the last, like I said, 20 years, we have conducted many projects, and so, as you know, this is Highway 60 corridor, and the Rodeo Chetasky fire was this big chunk of land here. This is Cottonwood Canyon, and up Cottonwood Canyon, we've done extensive fields projects up to the 300 Forest Service Road. When you get off the reservation at some point above Forestville, all that throughout here has been treated under the fire management program. And so when you look at this in comparison to this, we have treated much more than what has burned here. So I would say comfortably we have probably treated 50 to 60,000 acres. Prior to the field harvesting here, and this is called the corduroy timber cell. And on that project, if I can recall correctly, I believe we cut about 30 million board feet of timber. Once we complete our timber sale harvest, the next thing that usually comes behind us is some kind of thinning project or a fuels management project. And so other areas have been also treated under the timber stand improvement projects under our forest development program. And I want to point out this is the Kanishba fire of 2003 and the playground fire of August 2015. And so that's the direction that fire is traveling. On this ridge top here, this is our Fort Ridge region. Amos Ranch is located right here. And this green line that you see here, that's our 41 road system. That access is another currently active timber sale unit. It's called the South Fort Ridge Timber Sale. South Fort Ridge actually entails this whole region, but we're only scheduled to harvest about 7,000 acres. And we have conducted timber harvesting projects on this ridge line already. And so, you would think that that should contribute to help slow down the fire's progression. In this area here, this is called Lake Ridge. We are still progressing in that direction to harvest more timber. And so we're still scheduled to harvest in this area another 6 million board feet. And that should be occurring sometime this fall. We don't have any timber harvesting activities scheduled for the upper reaches of the Middle Cedar Creek drainage. We just did not plan to do any harvesting this time around in this major canyon bottom. And so you can see that the Fort Apache Agency has been aggressively treating as much acres as possible over the years, and so I just want you to know that, we not only focus on ourselves, we focus on our neighbors. And so I hope that this helps you to, think about these things. It's important for us that our elected officials, whether they're tribal, county, state, national, recognize that we are proactively doing these projects. And I thank you very much.
So an important point that Mr. Carroll just brought up was that a lot of these areas have been treated already. Why that's important is because when that ground area is cleared, it does help keep those fires low instead of getting up high into the trees. A ground fire is much easier to go after than one that reaches up into the crowns. Now, a bit more about this fire situation and why this area is still in some danger. I'd like to bring up Southwest Area Incident Commander, John Pearson.
Good evening. We can do better than that. Thank you very much. I expect, the Southwest Area Management Teams expects folks when we do briefings to respond. It makes you feel alive in the mornings at 6 a.m. and also it's ongoing right now for the night shift. So I always like to hear folks respond like that because it tells me there's somebody out there listening. So, I've been talking about how we got here, and I have to acknowledge that the Fort Apache and White Mountain Apache Tribe folks, when we got the call, had discussions with the powers to be, the superintendent with Fort Apache BIA, and I asked Nona, I said, what can I do to help, and what is your priorities? And as they displayed, they mentioned the first priority was, of course, our firefighters and our emergency responders, which, certainly those emergency responders that were here during that initial attack phase and taking care of business. Also, with that, their second priority, which was the communities that we all mentioned here, that being Show Low, Pinetop Lakeside, Honda, McNary, Amos Ranch, Forestdale, that was it. That was where the fire was headed. Those were their priorities. In addition to that was the resources that Orlando just mentioned. That was the additional priorities to take care of and maintain integrity of the forests that are up here. So that's how we got started. Our team consists of 56 primary individuals, and we come from many places across the country, and we migrated to Show Low. And fortunately, when all that was going on, the initial attack resources that tackled the fire early on, and then later the Type 3 organization, which is primarily an operational based organization, they did some tremendous work. And as I said, the last couple of days, if it wasn't for their work and their efforts, we could be in a different place today. So I'd like to first and foremost recognize the efforts that they did to set us up for success in this event. So let's give it for those folks. Right now we're up, we hit about 1,000 people on this incident today. That's consisting of about 25 crews, 51 engines, 9 dozers, 7 helicopters, and then the support personnel that fall behind that. It's a big organization, and I think that we're doing a good job. We've met some expectations when we look up there on the map on the north and northeast corner, where we're showing that all famous black line that everybody strives to have. So we're looking better. Things are improving. Now we're focused on some other priorities on the south end of the fire that's associated with Cedar Creek communities, Carrizo communities, and those other timber values and natural resource values that Orlando mentioned. It's been a great experience on my behalf. This is my first road trip as an incident commander with this fine group of people, and they're doing an excellent job. But what's more impressive to me is that the community support. Steve was just mentioning to me that when the fire line personnel are coming off the line, that we got parades of people just thanking them for their efforts, and you can see that around. And on my behalf and the Southwest area team's behalf, it says a lot. It provides them folks extra added effort and desire. They know what their job is, they know why they're here, and the purpose for them being here. So I do appreciate that. You're all supporting the crowd for what's going on here in this time of emergency. We mentioned the integration of folks, and I was just looking at the numbers of the different agencies and such, and it's well represented across the agencies. In addition to that, across the villages and the communities around here with state personnel resources, such as the Timber Mesa Fire Department. We got folks out there heavily engaged, so it's a valiant effort by all. To date, or as of 4 o'clock this morning, we're at 37,500 acres. And now I think we're going to be reporting about 22% containment tonight. Craig Doherty, our operations section chief, he had the luxury this afternoon to get up and get in the air in the helicopter and get that firsthand knowledge about what's going on. And so I'll stop talking because he's the one you guys want to hear. So let's turn it over to Craig. Appreciate all your all support. And here's the update from Craig.
Good evening. As RIC John Pierce said, my name is Craig Doherty. I'm one of the operations section chiefs. A little bit about me. My day job, I'm actually a fire chief in San Juan County, New Mexico, in the Four Corners region of New Mexico. So as me along with all the members on this team, we we come together as a team when the need arises and come in and take over these complex incidents. And it's oftentimes a challenge, and this one has definitely been a challenge for us. So I'd like to try to fly you around the fire if I can, explain to you what's going on the ground out here with the troops. Firefighters are doing a lot of hard work. We've run in 2 shifts. Our night shift's just getting ready to go out. They'll work through the night, and the day shift will come back out and take over. A lot of hard work, a lot of positive things happening today. A lot of frustrations have happened over the last few days. Sunday was a rough day for us, and I'll kind of explain that, and we'll talk about the progression of the fire, and then we'll go around and talk about where we're at today. So let's start off with, I'll break one of the first rules of public speaking and turn my back to part of the crowd here. Actually, you know what, I'm going to just bump over here so I can talk to the crowd and look at the board at the same time and get down off this stage where I feel more comfortable down here with you folks. Okay, so let's start here. If you'll do the progression map, we'll kind of talk about how we got where we are today. So I think some folks in the audience have this if you want to just follow along with me. So the dark green here is the first day of the fire last Wednesday. You can see it made a hard push to the northeast. The Type 3 team had the fire at that time. They did an amazing job of keeping it east of Highway 60, which runs right here. And the 65 road runs right here across the north end there. They stopped that fire progression in there on that first day, did an amazing job. We jumped in Thursday afternoon and our team took the fire. You can see this green kind of right here. That's a burnout operation. That's a tactic that we use to sorry, I'm trying to help the AV guys here. So you'll see that green line come across up here. That's a burnout operation. That's a tactic that we use to fight fire. A lot of people wonder, why are you putting fire on the ground? There's enough fire on the ground. Why are you making more? Well, it's a tool that we use. It's called an indirect fire attack. When we put the fire on the ground, we do it in a controlled manner. We try to put it down. We try to keep that fire on the ground instead of getting into the crowns of the trees. The main fire, probably when they were doing that, was in this vicinity. It robs that main fire of fuel and it strengthens our containment lines, which in this case was the 65 road coming in here to the 41 road. So that tactic worked well. Stopped the northward spread of that fire. Through the next few days, we were working down, coming down what we call the 37 road. And just for your reference, this is Fott Saddle right here. We were coming down the 37 road, working well down through here, progressing. Our plan was to come around here and stop it in Long Tom Canyon. Sunday came along, early Sunday morning, about 2:30 in the morning. Our folks were burning, our night shift was burning. They lost a fire up in this corner, and that's this little piece of orange you see right here. About 125 acres. 2:30 in the morning is not a time that you expect to see that kind of fire behavior. It's cooler, it's a little bit more humid at that time. That's when we have very good success in our operations. We had 2 hotshot crews and 2 engines that were immediately on that spot and couldn't stop it. So at 2:30 in the morning, and that's starting to happen, we knew we were going to have a long day Sunday. And sure enough, that's what happened. So Sunday came around. We had a very hot day. As most of you know, we broke records all over the region. And we had a very unstable atmosphere, which means that we had a fire that became plume dominated. That means that the fire began to basically make its own weather, if you will. So what happened on Sunday is the fire made a huge march to the south. And when I mean huge, we're talking down here quite a few miles. Doubled in size in the fire that day from 13,000 to 26,000 acres. We lost all the work that we had done in here to prep this country to get it ready to burn, which is very demoralizing as a firefighter. You put all that hard work in and watch it just go across your line and keep tracking to the south. So after that happened, we obviously were in a new ball game, spread out over a whole lot more country. So yesterday you can see this whole east flank and I guess I should explain this too. We got a north wind on Sunday as well. So that north wind pushed the smoke out of these communities, which you guys got a breath of fresh air for a day. But the communities down south got buried in that smoke. So then the wind shifted back around yesterday to our typical flow here in the southwest, a south-southwesterly flow. Our big concern yesterday was obviously this east flank and reestablishing fire back to the north and east. This map doesn't show it, but we'll get to the next map here in a second, and then we'll talk about right along here is that playground fire that Orlando was just explaining to you guys that happened in 2015. It's been a nice barrier for us to work off of up there. So you can see this was yesterday into 4 o'clock this morning, this progression here. You can see this kind of weird looking piece out here. That's again one of our containment operations, our burnouts. So the crews worked along the edge of that playground fire. It doesn't show it in here, but we also came in here and did what's called PSD operations. It's plastic sphere dispenser. It's a machine that we use to start fires. It's dropped out of a helicopter so we can get into that rough country. And what we do is we try to back the fire off the ridges to decrease the fire intensity and the fire effects in there. Keep that fire on the ground and keep it from getting into the crowns of the trees and being as less severe as possible. So they started doing some of those operations in there. A big concern for us yesterday early morning was this area right here in the Fott Saddle area. We didn't have a lot of depth built in there. And what I mean by depth is that black line that's in front of that main fire before it hits there. Under our controlled circumstances again, back in that fire towards that main fire. So yesterday we put a lot of emphasis right there. That was a pinch point for us, a real concern. Because right in here we have the timber cell that Orlando was talking about, and then to the north is the communities that most of you live in. So we were successful in that operation, kept the spots out of there, and worked our way down, trying to build some depth in here next to that playground fire, and then we're going to take this 33 road and come back down in, and Cedar Creek sits right off the map right here. We've got some opportunities to go in here and lessen the size of this fire and maybe pick up some of this country right in here. And I'll get on the map here in a second and we'll talk about that. So this is how the fire progressed the last few days. As John said, I just got out of the helicopter, so I've got a brand new perspective of where things are at today. So let's go ahead and switch to our operational map for the day. So as we fly around the fire, we talk about the coveted black line or containment. As I talked about last night, that's kind of a number that people have globbed onto. It's not a real good number, I don't think, to show where we're at. When we put that black line on there, we're saying that that's going to hold under all circumstances. That doesn't mean a lot so the other parts of the fire aren't in that same condition, but there's potential for it to get out of there. So that doesn't mean some of the other parts of the fire are traveling or moving a lot. We've actually been in this part of the country now for a day and a half, and we've done a lot of good work. In reality, that's probably going to turn black on the map here real soon, protecting the community of Cedar Creek here. So today, we're finishing up some mop-up here on the north end. Those crews are continuing to bring that burnout operation down around. Here's that playground fire I was telling you about, and trying to come down the 33 road. As I was in the air a while ago, this is probably the most critical part of the fire right now. We're by no means out of the woods. There's some very rough country in here. There's a lot of heavy fuels in here. This is country that hasn't had a lot of treatments in it, so there's a lot of fuel. And I do have to compliment the White Mountain Apache Tribe and the Fort Apache Agency for the work that they've done. The work that they've accomplished in these areas up here helped us really get a handle on the north end of that fire. So I do compliment them in that area. Some of this country here is just not country that you're going to be able to do a lot of treatments in. And they have done some up on the benches in this area, and we're using that for control features. There's less fuel in there to burn, and it helps us do our job. So we do have a very active pocket of fire that's sitting right about here right now. It is making some pushes at this 33 road. We're trying to get this burn operation down in front of that. but it's slow going. We are picking up a lot of spots in this area right now. We do have helicopters working in there with our crews, and so far, as of when I flew 30 minutes ago, they were picking up all those spot fires. So very dynamic situation in this area today, probably tomorrow and the next day. It's going to be ultra critical to us stopping this fire, is this section of country right here. Our flow for the next few days, as far as the weather goes and the winds, is going to be a west-southwesterly flow. So it's going to be pushing our hand right here, if you will. So we've got a lot of work to do there. That is one reason that you guys remain under a pre-evacuation notice. This fire is still very dynamic. You can see what it did on Sunday. It went from here to here. So it doesn't take very much for this thing to get out of those containment lines and get up and go again. I don't want to alarm folks, but I just want you to know that the reason that we're keeping that pre-evacuation on with the local authorities, that's their call, but under our advice is we need you to be ready to get out if we say you need to get out. So that's why that's still in place. So coming on around the fire here, the crews have made a lot of good work down in here. You start to see a fuels transition in here, a different type of fuel. We get into more of a juniper and pinon juniper type in here with some brush. So this fire made a really hard push down here Sunday, and it pretty much stopped in a lot of these areas. So our crews are going in, they're cold trailing that and making sure that that edge is out so it doesn't come back to life, and assuring all that. Some real tough country to figure out in here, how we're going to tie this back into this 33 road, which you can barely see on the map. Probably in the back you might not even be able to see it. So hopefully you can see my little red marker here. Coming around the southwest corner of the fire, this stuff in here is still fairly active too. However, the wind is in our favor here. The winds are coming from the audience's left of the screen to the right here. That fire, we went in here this evening and, or actually early afternoon, and did some more of those PSD operations, introducing some low intensity fire, trying to get some of those mesas that are in here, and it's hard to see, you can't see this on this map, but you might be able to on your maps that you have in your hand. You can see that there's some benches in here, some real rough country, real broken country, rocky dirt country. So what we do is light on the edge of that and let that fire back into that pine, trying to maintain the canopy, making a low intensity fire, and then we'll work this country down to where we can manage it. Putting firefighters up in any of this country in here is very dangerous, very rugged, not a lot of safety zones. If things start to go bad, there's no place for them to go. So that's why we've gone out to where there's roads, where we can manage these fires safely. Coming on up here, this is Long Tom Canyon. Again, this fire is active all through here. Today, the crews were burning out the rest of 60 here, making the corner into Long Tom Canyon. So they're taking out this triangle of fuel right here. Very successful operation going there today. They were marching along, having no issues. So I feel like this will all be tied in tonight. And this corner here is going to be very secure after probably a day or two. So, like I say, there's still a lot of work to be done. The firefighters are working hard out there. We do have a lot of tools at our disposal. We did fly air tankers very heavily on Sunday, and really were very ineffective. We put a lot of retardant on the ground, but it didn't buy us a lot. A lot of people think that the airplanes are what put these fires out. The airplanes are just a tool in our toolbox. It's the boots on the ground. It's those firefighters on the ground backing up when those folks make those drops is what puts the fire out. So it's a lot of hard work for those guys to get in after those planes kind of slow it down, but that fire will eventually eat through that retardant. We've got the helicopters working. Yesterday we weren't able to get a lot of air resources in because the smoke kind of hung around the fire. When the pilots can't see the ground, it's very dangerous, especially for the air tanker pilots, the fixed wing pilots. When they can't see the ground and they're flying in the smoke, it's very dangerous, so we don't fly them in those situations. The helicopters were able to work yesterday and get in and do a lot of good work for us and help us hold what we had. We do have a structure group that's hanging around down here in the Cedar Creek area, and we've also got a structure group that's working up in here the Forestdale area and some of those structures to the north. And then we also have initial attack responsibilities for a greater area up here to 260, down 73, and back around to 60. So any new fires that start in that area, we're responsible for that, as well as an incident management team. And we've got folks in place and extra resources that are there to take care of any new starts that we have while we're in town and helping out the local agencies and local departments. So I'll stop with that, and I think there'll be an opportunity for questions later, and leave it at that.
To all the crews that we have here, whether it was the initial responders who held that line on the first night when this fire was really raging toward these communities, or the Type 1 team and all the crews that have come from around the country. Please give them one more round of applause. Now for a local perspective on this fire, we have Timber Mesa Fire Chief Brian Savage.
Thank you, Adam. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. Let me begin by asking that you please keep the firefighters on the front line, all of the people working to support the fire, and our community in your thoughts and prayers. Timber Mesa Fire has been working closely with area fire departments, the incident management team, the city of Sholo, the town of Pinetop Lakeside, and Navajo County to support the Cedar fire. We have 3 engines on the fire right now, and several other of our personnel that are working with the team or assigned with the team. Additionally, we have assisted with the plan for possible evacuations, and we continue to protect the citizens and the visitors to the White Mountains. In cooperation with Pinetop Fire and Chief Jim Morgan is here. Thank you for being here. We have 2 additional engines staffed in the district or in the communities to provide added protection should the fire pose any greater threat to the Sholo or Pinetop Lakeside or Linden communities. We usually staff 4 engines at Timber Mesa, and presently we have 6, just for a point of reference. We are also coordinating with the incident management team's initial attack group so that we have those resources available to us as well should we have anything else start anywhere along the 260 corridor. The communities of the White Mountains are still at risk from this fire, and the fire danger in the area remains high. Pre-evacuation orders are still in place, and we encourage everyone to continue to be prepared should we have to evacuate. Remain calm, be alert until this fire is under control. Please don't get complacent. Please make sure you're getting your information from official sources. There have been a variety of rumors out there and several pieces of bad information that have been put out through social media. Please rely on the management team's Facebook page, 311info.net, or information sent out through Ready Navajo County. Finally, there are firefighters in the room. They're at the back of the room here, and they'll be at the exits to hand out to provide a handout to each one of you. On one side of the sheet, there's an announcement for a Firewise block party to be held on July 30th. This is a joint effort between the Pinetop Fire District and the Timber Mesa Fire and Medical District. Also, there is information on the handout about how you can get signed up for Ready Navajo County. That provides fire information and other information. If there is an evacuation, that is how you'll be notified, and you can select which method you'd like to be notified, whether that's cell phone, email, or otherwise. On the back side of the flyer is a checklist that you can use to be ready to evacuate if it ever becomes necessary. Please be safe and continue to be the community that we all know and love. Take care of one another and continue to support and give thanks to the men and women from all over the country who have come to assist us in our time of need. Thank you.
Next, we'll have our Emergency Management Director for Navajo County, Mary Springer, provide an update on what the county is doing.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you all for being here tonight. You know, I didn't start off with the meetings with this many pieces of paper, but after 7 days, it's kind of wears on you, so I have to refer back to my notes. First of all, I want to let you know where we were at Wednesday morning when this fire broke out. I actually had a meeting with the fire chiefs, and we were doing emergency operations planning. And we were waiting for one of those fire chiefs to arrive to get started, and it happened to be Chief Savage, who was actually out on the line trying to fight this fire. And so the first thing that we got out of there was pictures from his crew, and that was posted on 311 info. That was before noon that day. That's how we try and get the information out to you as quickly as we can. We want to make sure that you get accurate information and fast information, but sometimes we would rather have them out there fighting the fire than trying to scribble down something that we can post out on 311. So just so you know, we were mindful of the public because, like all you, when we see smoke, we worry. And we want to make sure that we try and keep the communities safe. So a couple things. As you guys were coming in today, you should have seen these flyers, Ready Navajo County on the tables. If you didn't pick one up on the way in, please pick one up on the way out. We have an emergency notification system called Ready Navajo County. And we cannot get a hold of you. We can't alert you if we can't reach you. So if you fill these forms out, I will be here after the meeting. I am collecting them. We have people standing by to put them in our system, so that way we can notify you how you want to be notified of these emergency situations, both pre-evacuations and evacuations. If you don't do this, then you're going to rely on the radio and our media partners, and they're very valuable to us as well. But we would like to get you the information as quickly as possible so you can make decisions. You have the time to grab what you need to do and be ready to go. And if this lasts longer than dark, these little wristbands that are out there as well, they glow in the dark. So take them with you. It's going to remind you to make sure you fill that form out. And our local police departments and fire departments are picking those up. If you want to drop those off at their stations, they'll make sure that we get them and we'll get them inputted. So I talked a little bit about communication. When this first starts, we do rely on our media partners and 311 info, the 311 line. We did have some hiccups with that only because we had so many people calling in that it just flooded those lines. We called our partners in Apache County, who has a joint information center, and we asked them to stand that up so we could actually answer live calls, and they're currently doing that today. So Apache County, even though this isn't in their county, they're a partner with us. We also called upon Gila County, so we have several counties working this with us, as well as your communities, Pinetop, Lakeside, Show Low, Cedar Creek, Carrizo, Sibique, Honda, McNary. I name these because we really are all in this together. We have the incident command that's providing the support, but you're partners just like we're partners, and we need to work together. So let me give you a little bit of information. The incident command also has sign-up sheets out there, and they have a Facebook page. It's Cedar Fire Info. If you sign up for that, you will get the updates as timely as we do. We're also posting on 311. I know our partners at White Mountain Independent is posting, and I believe this is being streamed live. We also have the call-in number, which is 311, and we are really doing our very best to try and keep you informed. And, I can't thank the communities enough. We had Snowflake step up right away to open up a shelter. We have Eager standing ready to take on folks. And in between all this, we actually had to move a shelter because the school had a commitment. So that shelter has been moved to the high school cafeteria in Holbrook. So, from one end of the county, we're all partners. And so we really want to thank you for your patience and your generosity. Thank you.
So to build off what Mary just said, our biggest fear as communicators is that an emergency will happen and we can't reach you. We try to reach you through social media, through standard media, whether that be newspaper, radio, TV, through Ready Navajo County. If you aren't aware, we can't help you, and that is what we're here to do. From the public safety perspective, we have Show Low Police Chief Joe Shelley to give you that perspective as well.
Good evening. So far, you've heard from everybody here in the public safety. I always say public safety, it's not just police, but it's also fire. So our partners on both sides of the aisle doing a very, very good job so far. A lot of people look at the police department saying, well, you know, what is your role here? Obviously, is to keep the peace and get people in and out of here safely. Well, one of those things that the Type 1 Incident Management Team has done, it's one of the few ones, in fact, I think it's the only one that has a liaison with the public safety department, with the actual police department, so that we know real time what needs to happen. So when we were putting out that advance notice of be prepared, we might have to evacuate, that notice came out very, very shortly along with our other partners. So we wanted to make sure that our information was getting out, and slowly but surely kind of put all the, fixed all the holes in the dike, so to speak, when it comes to information. And right now, that information is coming out. So please visit those sites. If you have any further questions, I know it's the summertime. We have a lot of visitors up here. So our temperatures, our tempers start to go a little bit shorter. And the idea, though, is just a little more patience. If you see something out there, your neighbor needs some help with something, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So the biggest thing we want to stress is that, yes, that northern end is looking better, but the danger is not done. As we've seen already with this fire, it can be very sporadic, it can be very unpredictable. The winds changed and it took off to the south. That type of wind in this area in the summer is rare, but it happened. The fire, it's a wildfire. We can try to protect you, we can try to predict it, but at the end of the day, it's gonna go where the wind takes it, where the fuel is. It is unpredictable. So please, stay prepared, stay alert. We will continue to do all we can to protect the communities. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. This is our home too. We care deeply about what happens here. We are trying to keep you informed as best we can. We are doing all we can to protect your property and your homes, but most importantly, we're going to protect you. You are the top priority, you are the #1 resource here, and at the end of the day, that will always be our top priority. At this time, we will open it up for questions. We have a microphone set up here. Please line up in an orderly fashion. And again, as I said at the beginning, please try to aim your questions toward the community as a whole. We can address your personal questions in one-on-one sessions after this. Thank you. Yes, sir.
How to put this? Is our communication system up here on the mountain even able to handle this Ready 911? I pick up my phone right now, or on a busy weekend, we have a lot of visitors up, and I get all circuits are busy. We get that constantly up here. Are we even prepared for that? Or how many times this year have we lost all communications up here on the mountain? We lose our phones, we lose our internet. What is in place for this?
So as far as that second part of the question, I'm not sure how many times we have lost it. To explain what happened at the beginning of this fire, so we did set up the 311 call center, and we had a very large quantity.
I understand. I'm saying, yes. Is it able to handle it? Is it able to go ahead and get a hold of all of us? Because I can pick up my phone right now and maybe get all circuits are busy. And we get that on the weekends when we have a lot of people up here. Is our communications prepared for that?
We have a couple of ways of dealing with that, because we all know that our communications have gone down. We do rely on our media partners. We rely on our police departments and their auxiliary, because in an evacuation, they are going to go door to door. So they do want to make sure that you're aware of that. They don't just rely on Ready Navajo County, although when everything is working, that's the way that we're going to send out those alerts.
Is our communications able to handle that announcement? That's what I'm saying. Right now, I pick up my phone and I get all circuits are busy.
At this point in time, our communications are working. I haven't gotten a call that says nothing's down, but we are probably getting flooded with calls, and that's...
I'm not saying calling you, I'm saying just making a phone call up here on the mountain. Our systems are not prepared for it yet, I do not believe.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yes, as of even early yesterday, both public media, radio and television, and the 311 info line were reporting a 40% containment figure. And today I heard one of our speakers mention a 20-something%. And I'm wondering, does that represent a breach in containment lines or just overall growth in the complete size of the fire?
So here's the deal with the containment. When we started with the 40% containment, the fire was about 13,000 acres. So if you imagine a circle, you got a black line like this around it. So it doubled in size. So it basically, we have miles of perimeter around the fire, and we have X miles of containment, but as the perimeter of miles increase, that containment will shrink.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Also, I'd like to clarify, I said 37,500 acres this morning. That was at 4 o'clock this morning, and you guys can see the number up there. It's 40,434. 300. In that top little box, 40,340. So, I guess the next question.
Thanks, John. Yes, sir.
Being prepared to evacuate, and I'm sure all of us are. Here is a situation that may happen to many citizens, and I'd say many citizens. Let's say I work in St. John, Snowflake, Holbrook, Heber, or even at the prison in Winslow. Okay, the evacuation is called. I'm at work. I have the only family car. I need to get back in and get my family out of Shoalo and Pine Top to get my medications and other important papers. How am I going to get to my family? Will there be a window of opportunity to do this? Or do I just sit at home and not make any money?
No, great question. And that's, we're talking about public safety.
Right.
One of the first things we're going to do is, like we said, get ready for all of this. Right. So the Ready Navajo County, if you're signed up for that, you're going to get an alert. And I know the gentleman just asked about whether or not that's going to work. It's worked so far. And now when I'm standing out there 2 hours after the incident and I'm getting alerts, and you know how spotty it is out on 260. So I was kind of far out there. I was on Cottonwood area, the only spot, and I got the alerts. From there, we've got a few hours, and working with incident management, like I said, we have someone embedded with them, and that's going to give us even more time to prepare. We're going to have roadblocks set up. So our partners with DPS and Navajo County, things like that, you're going to come in, you're going to tell us this is what's going on. More than likely, we'll escort you back into town because there's going to be a line of cars going out. So our evacuation routes on this one, we didn't put them out because we don't know where that fire was going to come out. So whether it came out in wagon wheel, well, that just cut 260 in half and we're going the other way. So the idea was, let's find out what the behavior is, listen to the professionals, and then we'll react to that. But absolutely, we'll come back in there. When we say get ready to evacuate, all those things, and for me, I'm new to the mountain, been here almost 3 years, and I figured it out finally that I need to put my stuff in a tote and get it ready to go, because when I get ready, I'll throw my dogs in and I'm out of here. Well, I can't really leave, but that's the other part. But that's it. We'll make sure you get to your house, get that stuff ready to go, and then when it comes, call home, tell them to get it all ready to go, set it out, and then when you get back there, we'll get you to your house.
Because there are a lot of people that aren't here at this meeting that are at work, and we'll have to come back in.
Right, and we've already understood that. We knew that was going to happen because a lot of us are the same way. We have one car in our families, and we've got to get back home. How do we do that? Even from within Shoalo, not outside, but within. But there was going to be a time where, and we all know this, we don't want the looky-loos to come into town. So we'll shut it off at that point. So that we'll allow just you and the several others to come into it.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that the speed with which the fire moves is dependent on a lot of variables, including wind direction, wind speed, but approximately how many hours advance notice will we have when we're told to evacuate from the time the fire would actually hit us and it'd be too late?
I'll address that one for you. So what we've done up here, you can see some other lines on our map here. These lines here, and then you see these down here. These are called management action points. So what they are is they're a line in the sand. They're just kind of a spot that we need to take and reevaluate things. So obviously, every one of these lines, we've looked at the distance away from the communities so that we can give adequate time for what your police chief was just explaining, to get all your folks here notified and out of town in an orderly fashion. So we've built a lot of distance in here to do that. So now the question comes up, so why is the line so close down here to Cedar Creek, but yet so far away from Show Low, Pine Top, Lakeside, and McNary and Honda? Well, it's basic fire behavior. So fire is one of the few things that defies gravity. It wants to go faster uphill rather than down. Unfortunately, you guys are at the uphill side of a fire. So we've got to give more time here for that to happen. So that's why those lines are further. As the fire came south here, yes, it was wind driven, but it was going downhill at the same time. So we had a little bit different fuel in here, and the fire was having to go downhill. So we felt like we had enough time to adequately evacuate Cedar Creek, and we did put them in a pre-evacuation Sunday, or actually it was Monday morning when that fire reached that line there. So we've got plenty of time there. I'm not going to give you a specific amount of time because that's obviously a dynamic situation. So what that management action point does for us, it gives us an opportunity to evaluate the time of the day. So if it was at 2:30 in the morning, I'm going to be less likely to say, hey, evacuate. It depends on the resources we have at hand to slow that fire, to stop that fire. So that fire is obviously going to get established on the other side of that management action point. I've got to look at all the resources I have at hand to stop it. I'm looking at the time of day. I'm looking at the winds. So every day is a little bit different. So we don't want to just say it crosses that line, everybody out of town. We're going to evaluate that, see what we have at hand, and see what's going on at that particular moment in time, and we'll make the right decision to get folks out of the way with plenty of time to get out of town with all their belongings.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening. My name is Sue Leslie. I'm here on behalf of Cedar Creek Community. I'm the community president, and the questions that have been coming through all day is how far is the fire from the trigger point for evacuation as of today now?
Well, just to address part of that, we don't want to call them trigger points. We do want to call them management action points based off what Craig just said, because just because they come to that line doesn't mean immediately, everyone evacuates. It starts the conversation of what should we do now to address the actual fire. We'll bring up John.
So when Craig gave his operational briefing and he talked about this line of the fire, and he felt it very comfortable that perimeter is secured fairly well. We're waiting a couple of more days, maybe another day, and that might show containment in regards to that. So that we're saying that isn't going to hit that line right now based on the security of that perimeter. But we got to give it another day or two to ensure that we don't have any issues in there. So the line is approximately 1.5 miles from Cedar Creek, the evacuation line. And again, like Craig mentioned, it's going to be based on what the fire is actually doing. It can touch that line or it can cross that line, but if we catch it, if we have the resources down there and we're able to get a handle on that, we're not gonna evacuate because we know we have it. If we know that we cannot catch it, that's when we would implement the evacuation.
Thank you. Another concern that we have is who's the one that's going to call the evacuation if it comes to that, because there's some confusion. Yesterday, Monday morning, when we were told pre-evacuation, we heard that it's between, the ICP were saying it's between the tribe, and then the tribe, one of the council told us it goes back to the ICP. It was like pointing fingers, and who's the one that's going to call the evacuation? We would like to know.
So there's a lot of things that happen, but ultimately what happens is if Craig's operations down there and he deems it necessary to make that recommendation to evacuate, it's contacted to us, and we coordinate with the tribal authorities, law enforcement, and then they move on with the door-to-door evacuation notices to take care of that. And Jerome, you may have some other contact information on that.
We made it clear, I think, throughout the whole event that when it comes down to that level, it's going to go over to our IC, which is in charge of the Emergency Operations Center. And he will give us the go-ahead, myself and Gwendina being the PIOs, to announce that that's what's going to happen. that's when it's in a full effect and everybody will be noticed at that time. I think we also stated that when that is going on, there will also be green tags on every house that as they are being evacuated, and everything else will be initiated at that time. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of curious on when 60 will be opened up for public access to get like to and from Globe.
So 60, the reason 60 is closed right now is because we've got active firefighting operations going on there. When I drove through there today, I had probably about 100 firefighters on the road watching for spot fires in this area here where we're doing the burning operations.
Yeah.
We've also got our helibase here at a place we call Cottonwood Staging, which is a big meadow down there. So we've got helicopters flying in and out of there a lot. I can't give you an exact date, obviously very dynamic situation, but we're hoping to get 60 back open as soon as possible. We recognize the inconvenience to folks, and our biggest priority is making sure the public and the firefighters are safe with that fire right there on the edge of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I realize this is a very stressful time for everybody, and everybody's worried and everybody's concerned. I'm aware that there are 2 evacuation centers. One is in Round Valley and the other one is in Snowflake. And this may not seem like it's of monumental importance to some people, but it is to a lot of people. What are we supposed to do with our pets?
I'm glad you asked that. That's one of my informational for later on, but immediately we set up shelters for pets with the shelters that were set up. So when it was set up in Snowflake, the Humane Society came up and they set up alongside the shelter. They're not allowed inside the school, but they have a shelter right outside and the Humane Society's there.
I heard that you had to take them all the way down to Holbrook and you have to have them all caged. All my animals don't have cages. They have leashes and stuff. They have little carriers. But we're supposed to evacuate from here to go to Snowflake, and then we're supposed to leave Snowflake and go down to Holbrook with our critters.
Well, let me finish the answer for you. We do try and accommodate pets with their owners because we know that stress is bad, but those are your kids for most people. So we try and accommodate that. I know at the Snowflake shelter, we had cages for the animals, but there were a lot of folks that didn't want to leave their animals. They slept in their car with their animals, and that is certainly their choice. Eager, the same situation is set up. We have accommodations for animals, for large animals, both at the Eager Fairgrounds and the fairgrounds in Holbrook. They're set up for larger animals should we have to evacuate those. So that, we do try and accommodate pets, but they do have to be contained, whether you contain them yourself in your vehicle or in a cage. You have to manage because you're going to be with other folks that also have animals. So, we rely on you folks to take care of and manage your pets, but we have set up accommodations for them.
In Snowflake as well.
Snowflake has moved to Holbrook. So if we set up 2 shelters, because as one of the gentlemen had said, if that fire came through Wagon Wheel, we have a little problem because we have folks in Show Low, we have folks in Lakeside, Pine Top, Honda McNary. So we had to have 2 routes for folks to go to. If they couldn't get to a shelter, we'd all be in trouble. And we want to make sure we accommodated folks. We also had people in Cedar Creek and Cibecue and Carrizo. So we had to make sure that they had a route to a shelter. And that's why we set it up that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Saturday I heard that it was contained. Sunday being Father's Day, and then Monday morning I heard that we lost it. And I understand you said that you had 2 hotshots. I would say that was 2 hotshot crews, is that right? On 125 acres that you lost? I was wondering why those hotshot crews wouldn't say, hey, boss, we're losing this fire. Why wouldn't they just bring everything out there to stop that, because 125 acres doesn't sound like a lot to me when I think of the thousands of acres it has burned since.
Let me clarify that. So it started off as a small fire. That fire grew so fast that we had 2 crews and 2 engines right there. They couldn't stop it. It was growing that fast. When they can't stop it with that kind of resources, there's nothing that's going to stop that. And the danger there of the crews is we pull them back. And at 2:30 in the morning, the majority of our folks are sleeping. We brought everything we had over there to that area. We can't fly aircraft at night. That's our support when we need to pick those up. And it's too dangerous of a situation for them to keep trying. So at that point, you back off and you realize that it's lost. And you don't put any more folks in danger because it's just too dynamic of a situation. When that fire transitions from a ground fire into the crowns of the trees, there's nothing we can do at that point. You can bring every person that we have in the whole fire camp and we're not stopping that.
Planes, helicopters, furry planes.
And we're at 2:30 in the morning, we can't get those going. And by the time the sun came up, it was going big time by that point where there's nothing we do. And then the other thing I need to explain too is the main fire there. So if you look at that progression map again, you got the progression map? So that was this little piece right here. So that little piece did its thing, but the main fire across this whole flank right here, by 10:30 Sunday morning, that whole thing was marching south. So I'll give you a little perspective so people think that the airplanes can put these fires out. So the airplane, when it makes a drop on this map here, this is about how big of an area that it can cover. About like this little piece right there, right where my thing is. So there is, when we like to use a saying, when the big dog's eating, you better get off the porch, because there's nothing we can do at that point. We could throw everything we had, and we didn't even make a dent. So Sunday, I'll give you an example. We dropped 100,000 gallons of retardant. In my 25-year career, I've never dropped 100,000 gallons of retardant in a single day, and we didn't even put a dent in this fire, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, 2 quick questions, actually, and follow up to the young lady from Cedar Creek. I was rather concerned. Cedar Creek was given a pre-evacuation notification, yet Carrizo was not.
Yes, sir. We have a different management action point for Carrizo. So if you'll notice on the map here, let's go back to the other map if you don't mind. We're going to give you exercise tonight, one way or the other. So Carrizo sits right over here. So when that fire was making its push, it had a south wind behind it. So the main target, unfortunately, was Cedar Creek that Sunday. So here's our management action points for Carrizo. Again, when you get off in that country there, it's really broken country. So the fuels start to change. As you guys travel down 60, you recognize you get into a lot more rock, bluffy country, and you start to see a lot more brush, a lot less bigger trees. A lot of this country in here around Carrizo has also been grazed, so there's not a grass component in there. So Carrizo, we never felt was in a lot of danger. Now our firing operations in the next few days, we might actually cross parts of this this management action line for pre-evacuation of Carrizo, but again, that's a management action point. That's a fire that we're putting in there under our controlled circumstances, so we probably won't hit that pre-evacuation notice. Now granted, this is a very, we won't do that pre-evacuation, I guess I should say. Again, this is a very dynamic situation. Things can change. We could get an east wind and it could push that fire that way, and we might hit that point where we say, hey, we need to evacuate. But being a management action point, we have the ability to use our minds and say, okay, hey, this is a situation that we have control over. We're gonna go ahead and not do that pre-evacuation, even though we cross that line. So it's still quite a ways from that point at this time.
But that management action point is Highway 73.
No, sir, it's not.
Is it not?
Here's 60 and here's 73.
Right.
The evacuation's here, but this pre-evacuation sits up in the hills there, away
Okay, so
from
they're not going to be hung out to dry.
No, sir.
With
No, sir. Not at all. Your public safety is the #1 priority. If you look at our objectives, public safety is our #1 priority. We're not going to hang anybody out to dry, I guarantee you that.
Okay. My other part was Sholo, Pine Tops Lakeside. We're all in the same boat together, are we not? If we're evacuated in Pine Top Lakeside, Sholo's out too, right?
Well, that'll be part of that management action. So we'll see where that fire's at. And again, that's why we want to think about it. If it were to cross that line, then we look at our projections. We may not evacuate everybody. We may only evacuate one small area that we feel could get impacted. So we will make that decision when that time comes. We'll work with the local law enforcement. The local agencies, the authority having jurisdiction ultimately has the ability to make that evacuation. We just make a recommendation.
Thank you very much, and keep that damned highway as long as you need to fill up the helicopters.
And we have time for about 2 more questions, so that would be you two.
Okay, good evening. My questions are, I live in Linden, I also have a house in Honda, I have family in Cibicue, I have family in Carrizo and Cedar Creek and part of White River. So a lot of it is this affect a lot of people. One of the issues is that I hear the White Mountain Apache Tribe PIO talking about evacuations on the communities. They have a strategy to send buses to people that need transportation when they do have evacuation. But I don't hear anything for the communities of off the reservation, Sholo, Pine Top, Lakeside, Honda. I don't know what the strategies are on if there are people that don't have transportation. We have a lot of people don't have transportations. How are they going to evacuate to all these sites? The other thing is we have people going through White River for the detour. They're getting stuck most of them are stopping at Burger King down there. I think they need a sign to say which way is to detour. Set up some signs for them, the people that are going through the town of White River. We need some more signs up there because they are stopping we're trying to put up a location map for them to help them go through the towns. That's one of the issues I was going to bring up too. The other thing is I don't think a lot of people understand that there are a lot of treatments, prescribed burning in the northern part of the reservation and also the fuels treatment that they have done along the border. A lot of times that we have, the Bureau of Indian Affairs have done treatments in those areas and there are pretty good buffer on the boundaries. But if it does get there, that is something that it shows that it ran through that probably because of the weather. But I just wanted to let people know that the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the White Mountain Apache Tribe have done a lot of fuels treatment in the areas, and I think the people in this area, Shola, Pine Top, don't realize that, and that's why it seems to be where it's a big concern for them.
Okay, I can address your first point. We have been planning for several days. We have engaged the school districts and asked them, we've got buses on standby. And so the plan was, if people can evacuate to the shelters themselves, they have their vehicles, they can go. For those folks that can't, our law enforcement would bring them to a pickup point, and then we would have school buses to take them to the shelters. And we've actually had some folks when the pre-evacuation notice went out, we had some folks because of the smoke went to the shelters because the smoke was so thick. And a lot of those folks didn't have a ride, so we have managed to make sure those folks do have rides. They're there, and when the time would come to get them back, we'd get them back to their homes.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that a lot of people ask is how are we going to get transported? I know like for the reservation, they do have a group of responders out there, but I wasn't sure if that was how it was set up, Shola, Pine Top, Wagon Wheel areas. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this will be our last question, but reminder, these speakers will be available for one-on-one questions once we end here. Yes, sir.
Quick suggestion. I was out of town this weekend, and the emergency management Facebook plan, there was 3 posts maybe per day. Maybe that may not have been fully adequate from a standpoint of wanting to know what's going on. I understand on the hour, every hour is completely not feasible. But maybe if we could get more posts from Navajo County, we could spread less rumors because there's more facts being put out there, even if there's no news is good news. My real question is, Almost a week into this fire, generally by now we have some form of a reason for ignition. Do we have any clue why this fire was started? Was it a campfire? Was it a cigarette butt? Was it anything else? Does anybody know? Do we have any answers on that yet?
I'll bring up Orlando or Jerome, do you want to take it? Okay. But just first to address that Facebook issue you did bring up. So there are dozens of fake Facebook sites for this fire. It is crucial you do go to the official pages, which are facebook.com/Cedar Fire Info or Navajo County or Navajo County Emergency Management. Now, part of the problem was on that first day we got a ton of information in. So you were getting many, many updates. After that was mostly us learning about the fire and how serious of a situation it was. After that next day, the information slowed down. So we were giving it to you as quick as we were getting it. We do understand that it might not have been as quickly as you would have liked. We have tried to adjust since then, and every few hours, if there is no update, just say, there is no further update at this time, or post something so you have something. We have been trying to work on that now to address the cause.
So in regards to the ignition, the cause of the fire itself, there is a team of fire investigators that have been working the origin of the fire. And, certainly they arrived on I believe Saturday. And of course we've had a couple of big days there that was not safe to get them in to the origin. But I did speak with the investigators this afternoon prior to coming over here, and they're still focusing and narrowing that down. So right now it's considered, under investigation and undetermined at this point. So that's where they're at with the evidence that they've collected so far.
And sir, I don't want to leave you hanging since you're the last one standing there. So what's your question?
Okay, I have one question, one comment. My name is Larry. I work with Cellular One. And the fortunate thing that happened today was we're able to put an antenna over on the other side in Cedar Creek. So there is cellular service there from Cellular One. So as for the gentleman here, and if they need to make contact or some kind of contact down there, that's possible. And just get with Cellular One crew to make that happen, to make it easier. So there is cellular service there now temporarily until the fire is capped. And then my other question is, when these back burns take place, do you all include the tribe, the White Mountain Apache Tribe, because it is their land? The fact that this last back burn, it just took off south, and we're standing there right there in Cedar Creek, and it's hot, and it's dangerous looking.
Yeah, I mean, we're in close coordination with the tribal folks and the foresters in Orlando. We have resource advisors that are coming in, and we're discussing the plan of actions that we're taking, for the night shift and the day shift. And so we're all in agreement with where we're going with this. And the focus when we're applying fire to the ground, is one of the objectives was the timber resources, the natural resources that are included out there. And we're focused on minimizing those fire effects and fire impacts. And I think that we can say that, rather than having a head fire come through like went through on Sunday and on the day of the start of this fire, where we had probably fire effects that are more severe than what we're doing with the application of fire. The main part of applying fire to the ground as a tool is we're doing this where we have the highest probability of success for our firefighters to be in a safe place where they're not exposed to a more riskier environment. We can extract people out when we need to do that in a timely manner, whether it's getting out of harm's way, or in the event that, God forbid, that somebody gets seriously hurt where we need to get them out. We can do that in a timely manner and get them to priority care so they get dealt with. But to answer your first question, yes, we are in coordination with the Fort Apache and also the White Mountain Apache Tribe.
And just one other comment on that too. The part that we lost in the back burn is not the part that made the big run to Cedar Creek. That was the backside of the fire that we had not contained yet. So the whole southeast corner of the fire, or the right flank of the fire, is what got active Sunday and pushed south all the way to Cedar Creek. So that was part of the wildfire that actually did that big push all the way down through there that you saw in Cedar Creek on Sunday night.
And that'll wrap up our question portion. Again, these speakers will be available for one-on-one questions. We will have 3 stations set up as well, one with public safety to answer any evacuation questions you might have, one with fire and emergency management, and one with city officials. And of course, if there are maps around, if you have questions about the maps, please reach out to the incident management team and they will be able to explain that. Thank you so much for coming.